After a few hours, the bullets stopped painting the sky. The sun began to peek through the mountains and the wind blew more and more softly. The only thing that could be heard were the gentle raindrops falling on the earth full of craters and cracks. I gave my best until the end, but she was presumably stronger than me. My body no longer responded to me. We were both left with our clothes full of dirt and blood, and our faces full of wounds. But I was the one who touched the ground first. Without raising my head, I could hear her footsteps on the wet dirt coming this way. After a deep sigh, I could hear her. "It's really a shame that things had to end this way." I could tell from her voice that she gave everything she had during our confrontation as well. What did it all lead you to? Just look at you, lying on the ground like a dead animal, contemplating the sky full of fractures. And yet, you managed to fragment it, the only thing that protects us from the outside world, she muttered in a soft, weary tone. Your stupid, unrealistic ambitions could have cost the lives of thousands of humans out there. You ungrateful brat. You don't even have the strength to speak anymore. You should be ashamed of yourself, she said, annoyed, as she narrowed her eyes. I was able to look up slightly just to see her silhouette standing in front of me. There she was, still standing with her long blonde hair and white dress. I never thought a day like this would come. We were so happy together, she murmured in a more subdued tone. But you are a being that brings this world nothing but chaos and destruction. It is your nature, and I should have been more mindful of that. And I will have to punish you, which Mom never did. My eyelids were heavy. I could only make out shapeless flashes of light, and my ears could only perceive my inner self. I watched as she raised her hand in front of me, and a blinding purple light ended it all. Eventually, the sound of raindrops ceased. I was awakened by the vague sound of high heels approaching me. There was a lot of echo in the atmosphere, but as I felt my hands on a rocky surface, I came back to my senses. I felt as if I had slept for an eternity. She stood in front of me with her back to me. I could see that her long blonde hair was still stained with blood, as was her dress. I don't know how much time had passed or where she had brought me, but my biggest question was, why am I still alive? The haunting sounds of the cave were interrupted by her voice. "Why did you do it?" she asked in a cold tone as she continued to turn her back on me. "Why didn't you ever listen to my explanations? What would our mother would have thought of this?" I felt a lump in my throat and couldn't help holding back tears, but I decided to speak, sobbing. "I am really sorry. I had no intention of damaging the barrier. My only wish was to be able to return to the outside world," I said with my head down, trying not to burst into tears. "You're too naive. We've lived a few centuries. You're no longer a child anymore," she said as she turned to look at me. "I know. I spent my whole life telling you that you Kai like us don't belong in the outside world. Being here in Jinsokyo is our only way to survive. That's why I created this place. Or did you forget that already?" With a cracking voice. "I just wanted to. Specifically you. You're too dangerous for this world. I'm sorry," I said through tears. "This seal will be your prison from now on. I can't afford to put the lives of others at risk because of your destructive nature," she said as she opened a portal and walked towards it. "Good riddance," she muttered, leaving a trail of bitter tears in her wake and clenching her fists in despair. "Wait, don't leave me here," I screamed in tears as I tried to get up. "I promise not to do it again." The portal stopped glowing as it slowly closed while I continued to watch life turn its back on me once again. And as I reached out my hand, I could only feel a surface that I was unable to see. I had been locked behind an invisible, unbreakable barrier. I could no longer hear anything. I had lost everything that day, but this time I had nowhere to go and no one to rescue me again. With my face full of tears, I lay on the floor with a hole in my stomach. You said we would always be together. Heh, I thought I would never be abandoned ever again. I said to myself, you lied to me. You were the only thing I had left in this world. Was everything about us and everything we lived through together never real? I guess beings like me are meant to be hated by everyone. I don't belong anywhere on this lonely, sad planet. I hate humans. I hate you, Kai. I hate myself. I would have preferred that you had put an end to my miserable existence once and for all. I wish Mom was here with me, using the sleeves of my dress as a handkerchief. If you care enough about this stupid fantasy land to leave me here to rot, I'll find a way to come back, and I'll make you pay with what hurts the most. All this that you created will be consumed by emptiness, I muttered, clenching my fists and punching the wall so that it was stained red.
The dream I had that day. I remember that today's history class was excessively long and boring, so much so that I was awakened by the vague sound of birds outside getting ready to go to sleep and the bright orange light that illuminated the room. I lifted my head from the desk to look at the clock I was wearing. It was already 4:30 in the afternoon. Sticking my head against the desk. This has got to be a joke. This is already the third time this week I've missed the train home. I grumbled as I got up from my chair. I didn't take notes during the class, but at least I wrote in my journal the interesting dream I had. I would like to know if there is happiness beyond dreams. I smiled as I wrote down what I remembered. I walked out of the classroom and locked the door behind me. Walking through the halls of the school towards the exit, I couldn't help but start thinking about whether this was the right decision for my future. It has been a year since I started living in Japan. At the beginning, I was full of dreams and illusions because of how it was painted on TV. But the reality here is quite different. All my life, I have been a very isolated boy from the rest of the people. My parents spent their time working, and my only company was my sister. But she's been lying in bed for around 3 years now. She'll be okay eventually, or at least that's what they told me so I could leave without worrying. When I'm able to get out of here, I plan to visit her again. She's the only thing I have in this life. And presumably the reason my parents were so keen on me finishing school abroad was just because they wanted to take a burden off their shoulders. Either way, I had a feeling that I was an unwanted child. They do give me some money for me to pay for school, but with what I have left over, I can only eat once a day. That's why I had to get a part-time job with a salary that would allow me to pay for a small, dingy room in an apartment. My classmates always bring homemade lunches and play with their video game consoles at recess. I'd like to hang out with them. However, I don't have those privileges. But hey, even though my situation could be better, I try to be grateful for what I have. I left school and strolled in the warm afternoon through the neighborhoods of the city. People here in Japan just make my loneliness feel even worse. I understand that my mental condition doesn't help much, but it's not my fault that I was born with something like this either. I would like others to see me as a normal person, but I can't get the words out of me, at least not for normal conversations. I have a fascination for physics, but it's not something I can talk to people about. Guys my age have other interests that I am unable to understand. I always hear my classmates talking about the games coming out this year, but no matter how hard I try to strike up a conversation, I always end up getting disgusted and uncomfortable faces. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I know things aren't very good right now, but I'm confident that eventually I'll be able to find some happiness. As I was on my way to the train station, I checked my cell phone to change the music, but I felt a chill run down my back and felt my heart stop when I saw what time it was. Shivering. This can't be happening," I said, waving the cell phone with my fragile hands as I ran out. It was already 5:10 in the afternoon. I was 10 minutes late for work, and it would take me about another 20 minutes to get there sprinting. Despite being out of shape, I had to run from the subway station to the center of the city while pulling my uniform out of my backpack and changing my clothes in the process. I made it to the convenience store where I work after leaving school. Shaken and out of breath, I approached the sliding glass door, but just happened to bump into my shift partner on her way out. "Damn, this is the third time this week you've been late," she said as she judged me with her up and down gaze. "And with your shirt on backwards and your hair a mess, they might not even let you in." Bowing. "I'm really sorry. This will be the last time I'll be late," I said, panting and wiping the sweat from my face. Sighing heavily. "Look, I always cover the late ones on your shifts, but I think this is the last time I'm going to see you around," she said disappointedly. I lowered my gaze and headed towards the store, but I didn't get the best welcome. "Do you know how many customers we've lost thanks to your lack of punctuality, boy?" said the manager, annoyed from the counter. "I'm really sorry. I won't be late again," I said, chagrined and unmotivated. "I gave you several chances. Nothing guarantees me that you won't do it again. It's too bad, but dismissal is inevitable." "Oh, and leave the uniform hanging over there." I felt a pit in my stomach. Things today were going from bad to worse. I just lowered my gaze once more and left the store. "Without that extra money, I won't be able to pay this month's rent," I said to myself. As I wiped my tears with my coat, I headed back to the station to wait for the next subway to get to my small apartment. Everything began to fall apart that day. My optimism was gradually fading. I'm tired of all the obstacles life constantly throws at me. I really want a break. I arrived at the station, but as I waited for the subway, something else came up. I opened my wallet only to realize I didn't even have enough to pay the fare. What is the purpose of moving on? I have no one and nothing to fight for. Things are not going to change. I hate this world. I hate myself. At that, I could see out of the corner of my eye the intense white light and the sound of the subway approaching at high speeds. And with one foot on the subway tracks, I said to myself, what I would have given to be someone else and have had a normal life. Maybe I can find happiness outside of this world.